Yeah, so like I said, fast forward like 6 to 8 months or so. I was in LA for a bit, and then Jacob, like I said, Jacob was supposed to move out originally, and things just didn't line up. Like we had to all make a lot of money in a short amount of time. Like I said, this was from August to January, and so all of my friends who wanted to move, you guys included, were like, "Oh, we all have to make a lot of money in this amount of time."
Yeah.
Now,
and I was also locked into that lease.
you were locked. Well, you were locked into a lease, and also you were working like a normal job at the time, right? You were working at Cricket, right?
Yeah. Like if I wasn't locked into a lease, that's what we always talked about. Like if that lease wasn't an issue, like we could have came out.
Yeah, but honestly, it worked. It all worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah.
For what it was.
I mean, and then Clyde, I don't 100% remember, but like same thing where like the amount of money we had to make in that short amount of time, I just bought like the red and everything. Like I was fortunate enough to be able to make a decent amount of money doing this stuff already. Whereas it's not like we were all eating off of everything I was doing. Yeah. It was really, I had to do most of the work, and like kind of where we were in that time, it was all like I was very solo with everything. Even with like the help of you guys, it was like I was still doing most of the work, and I was not even in that mindset of like delegating stuff at the time. I just didn't even like consider it.
I mean, still like you were talking about like the reset. Mm-hmm. Like we knew that if we all moved out here, that we wouldn't be getting work. Yeah, for a while.
It's gonna take some time,
and it wasn't gonna be sustainable for just the Swift Productions brand.
Yeah,
and
definitely
like,
not.
Whatever happened, whatever trials and tribulations there were, like at this point, it's all clicking. It's like, okay, everything did kind of happen for a reason.
It did. Like looking back on it now, this all worked out. Yeah. But around like September, right? Yeah. September, October, that time, me and Jake were talking, and he was supposed to come out to visit, right?
Yeah.
It was
it's supposed to be like a week visit from, I don't even know like the exact dates, but I know
it's September or towards the end of September, I believe. No,
I moved here September 11th.
Right.
But so it was like around August was around, or we were planning that, and then of course my job and everything started going downhill, and luckily it ended rough after we decided the week vacation. Like I had it approved and everything, but when it ended, that's when I was like, well, luckily I booked a one-way flight. Yeah. And because we were just going to decide or how I got home once I got there. But I mean, when I booked that one-way flight, I knew what I was doing. Yeah. I knew that I was going to come out here, I was going to find a job, and we did it.
Yeah, like and I remember because he started having the issues with his job, like they were screwing him over, and I was like, yo, kind of joking. I was like, what if you just, found a job and moved out here? And we were messing around with the idea. And then I think the closer it got to the flight, we were like, wait, this might actually work.
Exactly. I think I gave my family, a week notice?
I think less than a week. Like your family barely knew you were about to leave. And I mean, we didn't have a room or anything. We just I was like, hey, I have a spot on the couch if you want it. Like he was living in the living room.
Hey, I mean, it was fine. Like a floor space. Like I'll sleep next to the front door. Like,
yeah.
That's how I was. I was just like, man, like, let's do it.
Yeah, and it was like, again, it's the same thing. Very much how I got out here. It was one of those full send moments. It was like, I mean, because our thought process was, well, you could get a job in Kansas or you can get a job in California, and like minimum wage limits they kind of equals out and everything. Yeah. And our apartment was a little bit cheaper then than it is now, but like we were like, yeah, I think we can do this. And I mean, yeah, like we said, like you probably weren't planning on coming back. Like from the beginning, like I would say the closer it got to that, the more we were like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's when I started applying for jobs, even when I was in Kansas, because you were like, oh yeah, we live next to a Home Depot and like a whole mall.
Yeah, the Galleria. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna get on there and start applying at all these places, and then it was just funny because as I was applying, I didn't we had that talk of what address do I use right now?
Right.
Because like technically I don't live here, so if they call me and tell me to come in for an interview tomorrow, like what do I do? Yeah. And so that's when I just started putting your guys' address down, of course. And so yeah, luckily when I got out there, Target called me like 4 or 5 days after I got out there.
Less than a week for sure.
Yeah, and I was already third shift, loving that life. But
the midnight shift was kind of it was an interesting time because I like nowadays I'm a little better about it, but back in the day especially I used to be very like nocturnal. Like I was going to sleep at like 7 a.m. and waking up at like 4. And that was Jacob's schedule too. So me and Jake would go to the gym at like 3 a.m. together, and we would get home at like the sun started rising, and we'd be going to bed when everyone was waking up. So it was a really weird but fun time. Like it's not sustainable or something I could do nowadays, but it was kind of fun for the time being.
Fun for what it was. I mean, it was zombifying for sure. That was my biggest thing was like...
Because you're never awake when other people are awake.
Because I'd be working, of course, that third shift, and then if you had a shoot or something, I wouldn't sleep. And then I'd go back in, work another 8-hour shift unloading a truck. And
you definitely were like tired as hell all the time.
And then, of course, wasn't really eating as much as I should have just because... my sleep schedule was so messed up that messed up my eating schedule. So
really
I'd eat like a chicken breast a day, and it was a crazy time for sure.
Like this again, like this isn't like doing it the way we did it. It's not for the faint of heart. Like it's not. It's like again, I wouldn't recommend any of the things we've done really. Like honestly, looking back on it, it worked. It worked for us.
Yeah,
but. I feel like if you don't want this, you're not.
It's not a fairy tale Cinderella story. There's a lot of sacrifice and a lot of hard stuff to it. But like we always say, I mean, in the end, looking back on it, it's a good story to tell. You know what I mean? It's like that's kind of like one of our biggest like mottos too. Is like it'll be a good story. Yeah. Like the amount of dumb stuff that we get into or decisions we make, and we're like, yeah, but think about how cool this story would be.
Yeah, it's weird, but like so many times I feel like we almost like run to those situations.
Oh yeah, it's the excitement of it. Like, why would I take an easy route that's just like, okay, let's do it when it's like,
I mean, like I think it's
am I gonna eat today?
Yeah.
I mean, well, I think there's also that like kind of weird back and forth. That's like one side of it. It is. I think it's easier than some people think. Like to a degree. The reason I think it's easier is because a lot of it is just, the actual doing of it, like moving to LA, packing your stuff up and loading it into a car and driving 20 hours. It's not actually difficult. It's the decision. It's all the stuff you're sacrificing and that comes with it.
The connections,
it's just
the
you
friends,
fighting your brain.
Like, it's a big mental battle.
I didn't even drive out here. I moved out here with a suitcase and a backpack.
Yeah, you literally your entire belongings was in like 2 tiny bags.
Yeah, and so it's that whole like me standing at the airport. Same thing with you like getting ready to leave your driveway. It's just like, oh, like we about to do this, and that final thought of like, yo, I might not be coming back here. Like. I could go to LA, flop out, and then just be living in LA.
I remember us talking about the fact that like moving back to Kansas from LA, it was never an option because it's like you would just be crushed like mentally if you like making the leap was such a hard thing to do, and like and it's something that so many people want to do. Coming back not only for, I mean, I really just whether it's an ego thing or not, it would just be mentally crushing. We talked so many times. We said you remember the conversation we had like the first month you moved in, like we can't go back because if we do, we're never gonna come back out here. Exactly. If you leave, you're never coming back because it's not like being out here isn't like paradise like people like think it is. It's like the way I'd explain it is it's like it never stops. It's very 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 fast paced, and coming from like we come from small towns in Kansas, like. We grew up on dirt roads and shit.
The contrast,
we literally grew up in the middle of nowhere, and everything. When we go back, we talk about that. It's like life's in slow motion. Whenever I mean, me and Jake and I have been living. I mean, you've been here for like a year and a half, almost 2 years now.
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. I've been here like 2.5 whatever years. Going back is like life is in slow motion. Like it's like nothing changed. Every time you go back, it's like
everyone's still doing the same old thing. Jimmy Bob's still working at Dillon's. Like it. And kind of piggyback on what you were saying about not going back is, again, it could be an ego thing, but so many people doubt what we do and think that the decisions we make are stupid to come out here.
Maybe true.
Yeah, I can understand it to the point where, but like,
for sure.
Like, why would I confirm their thoughts about what we're about to do? Like, if I'm going to come out here and they're like, oh yeah, you'll be back soon. No, I'm not. I'm not letting you be right in this situation. Yeah, like this is how we're gonna do it.
It's like a all or nothing approach because like we kind of talked about that. Like if we go back, we're probably not even gonna keep doing what we're doing. Like,
because you're gonna be so crushed about it. You're like, okay, well, I guess I'll go be a car salesman.
Guess I failed.
I guess I'll go work at.
Which
and it's not also, a terrible thing.
And that's the other thing though. A few people did move back. A few of our friends recently moved in with like, so when we moved out of our last place, a few of our friends moved in with Caleb, and again, no offense to them because they
They worked hard.
They worked hard, and they were here for 6 months, but they made the right choice. Because the thing is, they also could have stayed here and just
been miserable.
Yeah, they could have.
That's another lesson. Like what we're saying. Like the other side of the coin, which we also agree with, is like if you're seeking a passion, whether it be lawn mowing or video or whatever it is, and you realize that passion isn't really there, stop.
It's okay.
Do not force yourself to be invested into a passion that isn't real.
Exactly. Yes, it's
because it's more crushing than just realizing, oh, well, I guess I failed at this. Let me move on and try a different avenue. And not even a failure. It's lessons. Nothing you ever do is a failure. It's just a lesson. Mm-hmm. That's all it ever is. So even I think moving on like past what we've kind of been talking about, some of the shit stuff you guys have gotten into.
Yes.
Like, pardon my French, but like out here there is a lot of people who want to just take people, use them, and then toss them to the side.
Yeah.
Especially fresh, young, newbies to the game. It's.
I mean, man, that's a whole lesson. I feel like so many instances of. I feel like that's a thing I could warn people if you're young and you're trying to get into LA and you're trying to do the things that we do. I would warn you to take everything someone says with a grain of salt.
A truck of salt, if you might.
With maybe a truck full, because the thing is, man, people will gas you up. People will.
Hey, man, we get this video done. We get this project done. We're gonna
you're going major.
Yachts every day. Man. We're gonna be steak every meal, man. We're gonna go miles.
Bro,
we're gonna be the next Luke Olympic.
And then a week later, you're never talking to that person. They leave you unread.
It's endless, because the thing is, there's a ton of people here who basically, I mean, it's a very like ego driven place. And I mean, like, again, there's so many stories me and Jake could get into, but we've had people just again, like, and me and, I mean, I think this is just a Midwest thing. Like, we try to be pretty honest about things, and we definitely have been naive and believed people a lot of times, got ourselves into things we shouldn't have. Just being unaware. Yeah. And we're just trying to make stuff happen out here, and we've had so many experiences.
You want to believe people, man. You do. Like, if you're gonna tell me something, I'm gonna try to.
Someone tells you that they're gonna, like, your life's set after this, you be like, oh,
you're excited.
Yeah. Well, I'm tired of eating, rice and ramen all day. Let's go. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for some change.
And that's like all people do is talk. Everyone here wants to talk.
That's LA's biggest thing. Is like, people are professional, like, bullshitters.
People are they're like, what was the thing? How did we say it? Like, it's like they create this image,
this big facade. For themselves.
It's a very two-faced place, I guess you could say.
You got, everyone has their social media side and their personal side.
Yeah.
It's very.
I mean,
it's.
Yeah, the entire city is based in the entertainment. So everybody's just trying to entertain, whether or not they think they are or not, and that leads to misconceptions and
everyone's
some diabolical stuff sometimes.
I mean, like we said, it's the pit. Everyone will do anything and everything to get on top. But funny enough, most people don't even get work out here. Some people move out here and don't get a drop, and. I feel fortunate to have even found work out here and to get up, because like starting a base up in LA is a lot harder than it is starting it up in your hometown. Like we were talking about that. It's almost easy. It's almost easy if you grew up somewhere for the first 20 years of your life and you want to start a business, you'll very quickly learn that business is people. Oh yeah, it's all about people. Yes. So when you know people, when you know people. But the thing is, starting out, LA is like. It's like extra difficulty because there's a billion other people trying to do exactly what you're trying to do, and you have to differentiate yourself. Like, it's very funny. It's a very different reaction when you tell someone that you're a filmmaker or something of that nature anywhere else. They're like, oh, that's so cool. I've never met someone who does that, or like, oh wow, like I want to hear about this and that, and it's like this special thing. Here, you tell someone that you're filmmaking. Oh, you're one of those people.
One of those.
There's so many.
My cousin's
my cousin's a videographer. Like, there's
which Thad and I have had this talk, and he's probably talked to other people about it before. But you might take that, like, you might hear like, oh, the market's saturated. Oh, there's so many people doing film in LA that you can't make. I mean, the one thing I'll say right now, which goes for really any industry and any business, anything at all, is the 80-20 rule.
Yes.
80% of everything sucks.
Yes.
80% of everything is bad.
80% of every person in a single kind of market are
all you have to do is get in that 20%. All you have to do is just show a little bit extra effort. Mm-hmm. And there are people out there who will be like, I work so hard and I can't get a break. you might change some things then.
Yes.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If
Smarter,
you're doing the same
harder.
thing, work smarter, not harder. As like some people don't like to hear it, but it's like as long as you can just put in the effort and rise above the 80%, which is pretty easy.
It's a lot easier than you'd think.
It's easier than you think.
Well, the reason it's easier than you think is because a lot of people skip fundamentals.
Yes.
I think that's the simplest way to put it. If you take your time when you're getting into anything, film, photography, Photoshop, whatever it is you're doing, learn your tools, learn what you're doing, like I said, it's the fundamentals. When you skip the fundamentals, what happens is you're doing a thing, and then all of a sudden you have this weird rut. And you're like, I don't know how to fix it. And it's simple problems. When simple problems or it holds you back, you skip steps. Skipping steps always comes back to bite you. It just does. Like if you learn the fundamentals, it's funny. It's so funny. I work with people, within the first year, and I worked with other guys who've been doing videos for 10 years. And I would be talking to them about camera settings, and they're like, "Oh, I don't care about all those technical things. It's it's all about the art."
The amount of times I've heard a person tell me that they don't use lens caps blows my mind. Or clean their lens. People are like, "Oh, I haven't cleaned it in a couple of years." I'm like,
I know people who shoot professionally and they shoot in auto, and they're like, "Well, it gets pretty much the same image." Like that makes me. It just makes me laugh because if you knew the fundamentals, which are again a hop, skip, and a jump away, a YouTube video, literally
a film riot video.
Literally watch. If you spent I mean now I understand it's not exactly easier when you don't know anything.
Yeah.
But if I sat someone down and gave them an hour worth of YouTube videos to watch on this stuff, you'd learn enough to be into that 20% of people who are actually doing this.
Yeah.
Because now there's a big chunk of it's also about business. That's more important than your skill. But we could go all day
another
about
podcast.
That. Another podcast.
I will say we have probably.
Let's just move on.
We can start wrapping it up and kind of talking about where we are.
Let's talk about the last year or so, right?
Yeah.
So
the result of everything we've been talking about, the equals sign.
So after being in LA with Jake and I being in LA for a while, once you moved here, things were always moving pretty quickly because I had my shoots, so you came on and started doing photos, and everything just kind of branched out very quickly. We just worked a lot, especially when we got here. We were just shooting all the time.
I think the first week I was here, I wanted to go to Melrose,
right?
Because that was one thing. I'm a big fan of Pt.2 and all of his stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted to go to No Jumper.
Right.
So we went there, and that's when we ran into Lozan and OSBS.
And then Nikki Films was doing that video.
Was him doing that. So we hung out for that.
Yeah.
And then, what was it 6 days into it? That was the Dax Juice WRLD concert that we went to.
Yeah, in Santa Barbara, right?
Yeah, and then I think soon after that you had a music video with him, and so we were just constantly busy as soon as I got here.
It was back to back to back work, and I remember that was the thing. With Dax especially, I stayed super busy. He had me shooting multiple videos a week and everything, and Jacob was obviously staying busy with that. And then when you started making your own connections, and then it was kind of like a cross thing. Exactly. I brought you onto my stuff, you started bringing me on yours, and we just kind of, which that's a big thing too. When you learn how quickly there's so much work in this I guess community, whatever, make friends and share. That's the biggest thing I could tell people, because it's
partnerships aren't one-sided.
There's so much work. There's money in the air just waiting to be grabbed. There's so much money in this industry.
There's a reason, going back to us talking about people scamming us and basically just feeding nonsense, is because those people don't share.
Yes.
Those people think that they're going to get six. You'll hear the motto, the saying, you got to basically use people to get anywhere. Or, the Jeff Bezoses, or, all the rich people, they use people all the time. It's most of the time they had a team.
Yes.
You build your team, you share.
Them, but yeah.
They're the type who aren't that loud. It's the vocal minority that are I don't pay my crew. I got free PAs, or I used this guy and then I took his video. It's well, guess what? That connection you have is now gone. You have to now find a new person because you burned that bridge with that person.
Bring
you can only burn
up.
so many bridges before you're trapped on your own island.
Yes. When you step on people to get up, eventually they're gonna pull you down.
Yes.
And I think that's a whole karma talk basically, but bring people up and they will help you up,
because that's something huge. That you specifically have realized is the team.
Yes.
How much more you can earn if you're delegating, if you're not using, that's a terrible word, if you're using people's skill sets in the right way.
It sounds bad.
I hate using the word using, but
you're putting people in place who have skills, maybe even more specific than you do in those departments. And I've learned so much general knowledge over the last 5 years. Like I've done so many different things. I've been wearing all the hats for so long that now delegating makes so much more sense, because I can I know what I'm doing in each department. Putting someone in there who that's specifically what they do, that's like the true key to this. But basically, the last year or two, that's where I think things have started to shift more into that, like learning how to work as a team. Me and Caleb started doing videos together. We started like directing videos together. Me and Caleb Zook, we did and we talked about it in the other podcast we already did, but about the no respect video, and we told the whole story. But we started getting working more on the creative side of things, and I guess kind of just working as a team, even with just us two. And then over time, which I've learned so much from him too, whether it's about lighting and cinematography and all these things.
Shout out
Zook, he
absolute legend.
What a guy.
He's insane. So I learned a ton from him, but that's the biggest thing. When I started realizing that I can't do this all by myself, it changes everything. And getting out of the mindset that you are it's all about you, it's so much more fun too when you have a group of people that you get to share something with,
even share stories.
It's so much better. It's just worlds better. I don't know if other people have, I feel like other people do have this problem when you get started, but learn what you want to do, do what you got to do to get where you need to be, but share though. It definitely will get you way further in the end.
Yeah. Cause I think, not to cut you off, but I think, because one of the first times, or at least the first times I know, I might be wrong on this, the first times you had a crew, Swift Productions became Swift Productions. Yeah, was my last words.
That's one of for me that was kind of a turning point for my stuff. Sorry to cut you off.
No.
That was, for me, I feel was a kind of a turning point, and it's still to this day one of my favorite videos. Around that time was when I kind of started to make the shift of I think I want to direct instead of just being a DP. I started getting frustrated and rather burnt out actually on I did so many videos with Dax and everything, and that's a whole other topic that I want to get into. But I kind of was just looking for something more within it, and I started getting more into directing. And he came to me with this he basically told me, hey, I want to have a gun to my head, and this is the thing. And I basically had to make an idea around that. And I remember being okay, cool, I want to dive into this. I remember making a really official treatment and all this. And we had our little crew. It was me, Jacob, Chris, Caleb, and then Logan and Josiah were out here at the time. Armando. Don't forget Armando. And there's a nice behind the scenes video on that Jacob shot. But that was just the first time I feel I kind of felt that crew kind of synergy thing where everyone's doing their own thing, and everything was flowing fast. We had a really limited amount of time in the studio, and it just I don't know, things all clicked, and I was yo, this is what I want to do. That was one of those things where after that point I didn't want to do solo videos anymore. Now I've still done them since, but it changed my opinion on a lot of things, and I think it showed in the video on how much bigger it felt. Like I said, the behind the scenes shows it all great, but that's a great turning point, I guess. And that was a year and a half ago. And that kind of switched everything I've been doing since then. I feel in a weird way, it's going backwards. Because I've been doing DP work for 3 years. Now I'm starting to direct, but I'm in the middle of it. I'm already getting work. I'm already doing all these things, and I'm I need to learn how to do this very quickly. And still to this day, I feel I'm learning so much because it's a whole other career path. It truly is completely separate. Now I still DP my own shoots because budget, but it's stepping away, slowly stepping away from that side of things made me realize how much the technical stuff isn't necessarily the only thing I want to do anymore.
Yeah. I mean, when you're able to delegate stuff and find people with skill sets and be able to put them in places.
Yeah.
Because that's something on this shoot that we just recently did that I wasn't on my last words. This is the first video that I've produced that was on a bigger budget and stuff like that. And just my favorite thing is just literally the way, like, Thad and I did a lot of pre-production, and then on the day of, the execution of everything was like, how are we making this work? Yeah, it's like, because we put time into this. We have people who know what they're doing. We built a team. Like, yeah, we're getting this done. We have an AC. We had an AC. We had craft. We had what? We had DIT.
We had like just things we never.
We just had a crew that we could make a vision much more efficiently. Yeah. You're giving people opportunities. It's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, it was really cool. So like that, and we haven't got to do that as much as I'd like want to. I mean, it's again a whole other topic, but a lot of budgets are getting smaller and smaller with videos because like it's what people prefer. Like some people just don't care. But I mean, thinking of all the projects we did, like around, I think another weird turning point, which it's hard to get into, but Jacob and I got an opportunity to work on a TV show. And that was around the time I kind of went separate ways from Dax. I was basically just like almost full-time working for Dax, but also doing other stuff on the side. And it was just like basically eating up all my time and a lot of stuff that it really wasn't what I wanted to do. So I basically had told him at the time, I need to focus on this TV show. I don't have time to do your stuff and TV show. Like the TV show, like if you've ever worked on a TV show, you know it's extremely complex. Like there's so many moving parts. There was like 4 producers on it. Like I remember me and Chris, and then there was like 2 or 3 other producers on it. And then I was also like directing and shooting that. And then we had like, it was just ridiculous. We put that together over a span of a couple months, and it was just it was kind of a mess, and there's a lot of new people involved, me included. I was very new to this. I'd never done a TV show. Same Jacob had had a lot of stuff to do in that as well, and that was like a weird turning point because I'd never done that, and like it's the same thing of like the weird like mystery behind like, oh wow, TV shows, and then once you like take that like curtain down, you're like,
that veil off.
It's just like, oh, it's just another video. Yeah. It's like, it's just a longer form version of what we already do. I don't know if I totally would want to do it again, but it was it was a weird experience. And that kind of separated, like again, I kind of separated a big chunk of time to where, like I said, I stopped working with Dax and I started moving in another direction. And I mean, I know during around that time, AK and I started working a lot together, and we had, and we'll talk a little bit more on this another time. We did the whole On Me EP. We did like 7 videos for it, or it was planned 7. We ended up doing 6 because somebody wouldn't sign the contract on the feature. You know who you are. Cash Money AP calling you out. No, anyway. Basically, we did 6 videos in the span. We planned them in like a month, and we shot them in like less than 3 weeks. Which that was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was very insane.
And Jacob, speaking of, that was Jacob's first projects. He never produced any music videos. Like we've been working together for a long time, but like, yeah.
I've never solely planned a video.
Like when you put on the producer hat, like it's a whole different ball game. I'll let you cut. Like when you're actually put in the producer position, it's like so much is resting on you, like especially with how much technical stuff's going on, but especially for these projects, because we had 6 of them. Like not only had he never done 1, he now had to do 6 in a manner of like, the whole thing was like 2 months. We're still to this day posting stuff for them because they're just like slowly coming out over time. But yeah, like that was a crazy experience. Like we were so busy for the longest amount of time, and then
it was insane.
I mean, we'll talk more about that another time, probably with Austin.
Yeah,
but
you can probably be here for that. So.
Yeah, and then right after we shot all those videos, we've been working with Quadeca for a little bit of time, and Quadeca hit me up about going to Europe for some videos, and I'd never even been outside of the country before. He hit me up and he was like, "Hey man, I know this is like really crazy. He didn't even think I would want to do it, which I think is funny because like I totally did want to do it. He was like, "Would you be down to go to these random countries in Europe and shoot these 2 video, or was it 3 videos? Oh, we shot 3. Yeah. To shoot these 3 videos." He sent me like the locations and stuff. Like he was like, "Yo, I'm looking at this place. I'm like, "Yeah, let me get my passport." Like we were like, "Shit, like let me get my passport." So it was
getting a passport.
Yeah, and like Jacob barely got it in time.
Passport. I think it came in like a week.
It was like a week or two before. Yeah, it was barely here in time. And it was that was again, that's a whole. We'll have to talk with Ben about that too. But it was a wild time, and like we stayed so busy for like the last year and a half, and then basically after we got like going up to the beginning of this year, beginning of 2020, we just got back from Europe. We went there in January. We just got back from Europe, and we were wrapping up all these videos. We started working with our friend Damien moved out here with us. And we did his whole album as well, which was like 9 videos. So we did 7 with AK, 3 with Quadeca, and then like 9 with Damien. This is all in the span of like a few months. Like it was ridiculous. So we stayed super busy during that time, and I learned a ton. I learned how to do some VFX work. I learned how to do like just a little bit of everything during that time. When coming to like 2020, basically like the beginning of this year, I was editing for like months trying to play catch up. After that time, like I hadn't up until this weekend, I haven't shot anything for like 2 or 3 months, and that's when like Corona kind of hit. I remember
Corona started when we were in Europe.
Yeah, we were hearing about it.
We were kind of hearing about it and everything, and so I think it was like just started in China.
It was just started in China. Yeah, we were making jokes about it a little bit, and then we were like, "Yo, should we even go back?" I think there was also some stuff going on with the like U.S. military in like Syria or something at the time. That was like
there was some random sketchy stuff. It seemed like was happening around that time.
Yeah,
and we were like, "Well, should we just stay in Europe?" Like,
the first time flying, the first time being international, like.
Yeah, we thought we were gonna get shut down.
Yeah, we didn't. It was a weird time, but we get back, and then. Basically Corona hits, and like for me, not to make a light of the situation, but for me it was the best thing that could happen because I had so much work, and it just like was an onslaught. Everyone kept coming more and more and more and more, and it's like again, I was still doing too much on my own. I wasn't delegating much at all at the time, and I was just like I needed time to catch up, and I was able to work for like a month straight of just like no new shoots, getting all my stuff done, getting caught up on edits, and then finally being able to make my reel like 6 months late. Made my new reel, and then kind of getting up into this time. And then we kind of started getting into our more recent projects, which I think by the time this is out, the Forte video we just did this weekend. And I think that the video we just did this weekend is kind of like a cool buildup of all the stuff we've been wanting to do for the last like 2 years, and just where we're trying to move.
Yeah.
It was like a little sneak peek at where we want to move. Like this weekend,
toes in the water.
Yeah, we really like we've had some like kind of like planned shoots and stuff, like things that we wanted to do in the past. But now Clyde and I we've been friends since middle school. We've been doing these projects together, and now Jacob was in Kansas. He went back to Kansas during the Corona stuff. He was supposed to go back for like half a month, and then he got stuck there. They just were like canceling flights, and things were crazy. So Jacob, I didn't even think was going to be back in time. And we had this Forte project, and it kept getting pushed back. And I was talking to Clyde. I was like, yo, because he was planning on coming out to LA and visiting again. And I was talking to Clyde. I was like, yo, do you want to produce this project? Now, like I said, again, he's never like produced. Like
I've never had the official title of producer.
Right. Now you unknowingly have done it a little more than you realize. But.
And I moved out like pretty recently, and we've been filming like stunt videos on another channel at the house I moved out into. Yeah. And like that's been like a step into producing there, which was again like putting my toes in the water compared to what this was. But I was geared towards it. You've
been working on it for you've been doing some stuff. You've been and like
I definitely pushed that was probably the last 7 months has been about the time where I've really been like, I want to do film. Yeah. I'm really in love with this.
Yeah.
It's about when it clicked is when I moved out.
That makes sense. And like the timing kind of all worked out. Me and Clyde started talking about the project. Like we've been talking about it. Like I think we planned it for like a month and a half because it got pushed back like 2 or 3 weeks. We were supposed to shoot.
Yeah, it was also again the flights. Like I couldn't get a flight out here, so it was just like, I guess we'll push it back to the 24th if we could, or not the 24th, but
6th and 7th.
The 6th and 7th, and we're like, okay, and then still couldn't get a flight. Still got canceled. I mean, I'm like. I think I'm going to drive out.
Yeah, I remember you joking about driving out, and I was like, well, my brother's trying to visit. Excuse me. My brother's trying to visit, so why don't you just why don't you just come with you?
Jacob had to do that too. He had to drive out here, rode out with a friend.
Yeah. So anyway, but we planned half the video with you still in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
We were going back and forth. We were on phone. We spent many hours on phone calls. And the other thing was this, since this being like your first like official project, there was a lot of learning. There was just a lot of like,
yes,
a lot of it was like, hey, how do we even do the thing that we're supposed to be doing? Not even just doing it. We had to like learn, and I'm still learning as well. Like
what is a share grid?
Yeah.
How do I rent a red?
I mean, it was a whole new thing for me. Like, again, I'm still as a production company, like moving in that direction, which is where we're going now, is like, I'm very new to this. I myself have shot a lot of videos, but teaching people how to do stuff and delegate, having someone do something and putting them in a role and being able to actually explain how to do it is harder than you'd think. Like, just because you can do it doesn't mean that other people can, and you can just like snap them into place. Like, it takes some time. It takes a lot of patience. And like for Clyde, when we were going back and forth on this project, like I said, half of it was just like, hey, like, what do we do? And now you picked up on it easy because like a lot of this stuff is things that you like to do anyway.
Yeah.
The spreadsheets and the organization of it all, and just like the scheduling and putting it all together. And like same with you as well. Like it was, now the reason I think like one of the biggest key factors to like doing the AK projects was like, yo, we live together. There's no way in hell we're going to get all these projects done unless we're able to back and forth talk to each other as quick as possible.
24/7 for like 3 weeks straight.
Yeah.
It was dusk till dawn. We were
planning these videos.
On the phone with locations, rental people.
Oh, yeah.
Getting everything just lined out. I mean, from extras to everything.
Oh, like, yeah. It was a huge process.
If we weren't living together, those projects wouldn't have came out.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I had other people I'd worked with at the time who would produce for me, but like it was just the most logical thing. Because I mean, we talked about you producing before, but like this is the first time we were like, okay, no, this is the only way it's gonna happen. And it like I said, like I feel like we got those done by the skin of our teeth. Like, not, I mean, it's not an easy task. As we do,
we just do.
It's not an easy task. Like that amount of music videos would have been a challenge for anyone, but especially us. Like, again, we're just getting into this production company world. We're just getting into this. Like, we hadn't produced that many projects before. A lot of times the artist would say, I have an idea, and we put together a little pre-pro and we go and we shoot. To actually, when I say produce, I mean like the artist giving us the money and we handle everything. Like, honestly, I think AKs were the first ones that we really got into doing that.
Yeah, that was the first time we had like substantial budget that we had
control over. Yeah, like my last words video, even then was still like Dax basically, we told him what we wanted, and he kind of had to book some stuff. And I mean, no, Chris was producing that project, but even then there were still a lot of things we didn't touch as far as the money goes. These projects were literally, even the concepts, no, it was 100% us. They literally, it was like, here's the songs, here's the budgets, do your thing. And I mean, obviously we just had to confirm everything, but like, that's where that was. So again, both of you guys, like, it just made sense, like, what kind of things you guys wanted to do anyway. I was like unaware that the producer role even like existed back in the day. And I was like, I remember telling Logan Mice, that I remember talking to him. I was like, yeah, man, I don't really ever want to direct because like blah, 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 blah. And I explained to him, he goes, oh, you don't hate directing, you hate producing. I go, like, what? He's like, yeah, that's what producers do. I was like, hold on a sec, what? Like, I was unaware of this.
Way.
So like he was telling me about how great Sam King is. Shout out Sam King though. But Sam, he's a producer for the Buff Nerds, for like Jacob Owens and those guys. Sam, he was telling me about how great working with Sam is. He was like, bro, I just tell him what I need and he just gets it. He's like, I needed a jet ski, and he managed to find me like 6 places with jet skis in an hour. And I'm like, I see. Like, I didn't understand back then, but I see. Like, for me, I can't stand producing, and I've had to do a lot of it just because, again, you wear all the roles at the beginning. But
it's that you're able to focus on your craft while everybody else focuses on their craft.
Yes.
And that was the thing with like these recent projects, is it's like delegating stuff and then actually coming through. Like, you don't even have to touch certain things, and then by the time we could get home and we're ready to go to bed, we're like, did we get this? Did you get that taken care of? I was like, oh yeah, I took care of that while you were balancing the Ronin or whatever it was. Like, stuff just happens, and it's about delegating and getting, you can basically get more done, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's the output.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Like especially this shoot, like this weekend, it was like the amount of things I never even saw once were like touched that got done. I was like, that blew my mind. I was like, the amount of things that were done without me ever being involved just blew my mind. Like I'm used to doing everything.
And we don't even have walkie-talkies yet. Can you believe that?
No. We're getting there.
Can you? Wait, that shoot's gonna be.
That's another story.
It wasn't bad. It actually because of the pre-pro and Jacob got a little caught up in some stuff.
But for the circumstances,
it was really smooth. That we could control. It went very well.
Yes.
Everything else, it went all right. We're still alive. But yeah, everything else, we're still alive.
I mean, somehow, some way. But I mean,
as we do,
we just do. We just do.
I think that's a funny thing that me and Clyde had a conversation with like right after the shoot, because again this project was very, very like, I don't even know what you'd say, just like nerve-wracking. It was extremely like,
well, it's like
it was a big challenge because like the video itself wasn't necessarily a complex video. It just had a lot of weird moving parts that we had to get together, and you'd be surprised at how hard it is to find a freaking paintball gun in LA.
Yeah.
Like certain things that just were challenging.
Or it's kind of the contrast too of most shoots that me and you have been involved in. I'm like on your shoulder,
right?
Or I'm like holding a speaker behind. Like we're constantly talking. This shoot, Thad and I would like look across like a 200-yard like desert and like give a thumbs up, and then I'd go do like I knew what he needed, and I'd go get a new Ronin battery. Like we never like we would just I'd walk up to him and for like 10 seconds be like, "What do you need?" Okay, and then I would dip, and 30 minutes later come back with everything.
It was cool for me because it was like it just keeps like nailing in that point of like when you have a good team, the projects like make themselves basically. Like it was really cool for all of us, I think, because we had a couple like it was Clyde's first project, and then and Jacob as well. Not Jacob Clark, Jacob Kravitz. It was his first project, his first time ACing, and like we had like a lot of people being put in new positions. Like we never done anything like DIT wise. Jacob was over here like putting the video together while we're on set. And like we were just so many things that we'd never done before that we put into it.
And we also had Adam Rodriguez shooting the second cam.
We had Adam shooting the second camera, which we recently started doing more. It just like was so many things that we've been wanting to do and been talking about put into practice, and it just all clicked. Not that it went perfect. Of course, there's always hiccups, but that is filmmaking. It's like 90% problem solving.
Yeah.
So it was just, for me, it was really cool, and I think everyone had a really cool like experience, and it really like for me, I think we talked about this like the night of when we finished it on Sunday night about like it's like that. It all seems like a mess, and like you're a little bit uncertain about it. And then once you do a project like, especially like that, you're like, oh, this is what I want to do. Like it's that confirmation that like we are built for this, I guess. Like it is very, I think that's the thing about this. It's not, like I said, it's not for the faint of heart. This stuff it's really hard and very like, not trying to deter people, because if you want it, try. Because it's very fun. Don't get me wrong, it's very fun, but it's like, when you're producing or directing, when you're like in charge of everything, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that.
I mean, that's kind of a moral of this this whole podcast so far. Is it's like you don't realize
the responsibility.
Well, you don't realize how you want to do it or how great it is until the product's done.
Yeah. Like
during the shoots, like the actual day ofs, I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to rip my hair out. What's going on? Which it wasn't that bad because we knew what we were doing, but there was a little bit of that stress of just like I borrowed a towel from the house manager, and I was like, if I don't get this back, then the whole shoot's over. Like it was like that was how much stress was going on, and then eventually at the end of the project, like we look back at the footage and we're like, wow, that was amazing. That was a great time. I had so much fun. Like Jacob Kravitz was like, he's like, dude, that was a lot of fun the first day. And I was like, yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun. When you look back at it, it was a lot of stress. And you're like, probably lost 5 years of your life due to stress.
Each project.
But then you look at the video, or at least when the video is done edited, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
That was great.
It's kind of like like I've always said, like I'm never that happy with it. And I'm never like the day of the shoot, like we talk about this, until I look at the footage, I'm always like, I don't think I like this that much. Like I remember that night we went up there and Jacob was putting the video together, and I was like, oh, this actually looks better than I thought it did. Like I was really worried about it. Cause I don't know. I mean, and that's a whole other topic, but the expectations that you set in your head, I think if I could tell people anything, especially as a director, if you the best thing you could do is drop your expectations, because I know you have to have an image in your head of what you want. You have to. It's the only way you're going to get anything done. But also, you can't beat yourself up when it doesn't follow it to the T, because it's not going to. It's just not. If you set that expectation up from the beginning that you know things are going to change, they're going to shift a little bit. But a lot of times, it doesn't matter, because however it comes out, it's all that matters. People don't see your pre-pro. People don't see what you wanted. They just see the end goal, and that's all that matters. When people see the end result, they're going to be so much more happy and blown away with it than you are.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the thing, was we felt like there was a little bit of uneasiness with this shoot with the artist. I mean, not really, but... And then I remember he went over to the DIT shoot, or the DIT set, and watched some of the footage back, and the entire mood just is like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's why it's really important to show people what you're working with, show them footage and showing them.
And also, the better your pre-pro is, and the better the artist or your customer or client can get behind your vision.
Yeah.
That's kind of a lesson we learned, is explaining your vision to people is impossible until you basically give them the project.
You really, that's why in-depth pre-pro is big, because I mean, when we were making this video, he kind of made the treatment for it, and then we took that and made a script. And I remember running him through the script. We wrote this down, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And then I ran him through the script, basically the A to B of the video, and he was extremely happy with it. It was exactly what he wanted. And I was like, okay, cool. It was a nice confirmation for me to know I'm moving in the right direction. And that's the thing. When you're directing and working with clients, you're bringing their vision to life, and that is something that kind of makes it a challenge. Just because it's good in your head doesn't mean it's what they want.
Right.
You have to find that balance of doing, and it depends on your clients. Like I said, AK literally just gave us full. He just was like, here's a song, do what you want to do. And of course they wanted confirmation, but if you're not coming to them with stupid ideas, for the most part, they're going to just be like, cool.
And I mean, we've been around the block to know what a stupid, not stupid idea,
maybe
but
cliche.
What a cliche. What isn't necessarily their message that they want to get across. But probably moving into closing notes, we kind of want to go around and say a little motivational speech, if you guys kind of think we covered everything, or if you guys want to run anything else you guys are thinking before we kind of wrap up shop.
No. I think literally everything's been hit.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very weird journey. It's not what you would expect it to be. Yeah. I think that's the easiest way to put it. The expectations that you have in your head, and they don't happen that way. I think me and Jacob talked about how impatient I feel like we were at first, and how fast we wanted these things to work. And everyone is, but
as soon as you find a passion, you want it to happen.
Yeah,
you're
really fast.
Shit, I love this. Let's be at the top tomorrow.
Yeah,
and then
it's $1 million in a week.
Yeah,
but you kind of got to get knocked down to realize that, though.
Yeah,
it's
I
not
mean,
happening.
You got to get set back. It's definitely one of those things. Once you humble yourself and realize, okay, it's gonna take a couple of years for this to happen. A while. Things move a lot smoother.
Yeah, and once you're comfortable with that too, once you're I can wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be a struggle. I'm going to, you got to get your endurance up.
Yes.
You got to be willing to take some blows, take some hits. But if you know that you're going to get punched and you get punched, it hurts a little less.
Yeah.
That's kind of the best way I can say it.
Expect a fall on your face.
Yes. But rise back up.
Yeah.
10 times better.
I mean,
you can't learn without failing.
Yes.
You literally can't. You can watch hours of YouTube videos and you can listen to this podcast front and back and every educational source you can, but until you take the risk, that's probably my closing statement, is take risks and don't expect failure. I'm sorry. Take risks and know that you could fail, but think about basically the outcome of the I'm gonna stop.
No,
you got it.
You're on it.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Well,
I'm losing my train.
I think what if I had to, I think that's a big thing that I've had to kind of try to come to terms with more recently is the sometimes that your focus is on that pursuit of an end goal, and everyone's always said it, that you got to enjoy the journey thing. Well, for me, I had to have the realization that me shooting a video for Juice WRLD or me shooting a video for random local guy in Wichita, in all reality, doesn't make a difference. It's not going to change it's not going to change my life. It's not going to change the way I feel. It's not going to change anything. I think once you realize that if you're doing this because you enjoy it, it should be the only reason you do this, because again, unless you to make it to the top to where the money actually is, you got to wade through all the crap first. You don't get to make the money without going through the crap first. So in all reality, you have to be ready for the long game. Like you said it, like the thing is, if you're only looking at that like end goal, you're going to have a bad time.
Exactly.
You really need to kind of accept where you are and enjoy the stage that you're in. Cause like again, this last shoot we just did is like, it's like that. I wouldn't say first step, but it's like a step in that direction we want to go. And in all reality, that what we just did is just as like fulfilling as the big stuff is. And if you're sitting here like always thinking about like, oh, I can't wait till I get my red camera, I can't wait till I get the big videos,
this milestone is...
honestly, you're gonna run out. You're gonna run out of steam really quick.
Yeah.
And like I've gone through some pretty like intense burnouts doing this. I'm honestly thankful that I'm even still doing this.
Oh yeah.
The amount of work and stress that I put on myself over the last like few years, honestly, was something I didn't think I was going to come back from. Like it was got to a point where I didn't even want to do videos anymore, because like once you do something so much, it just doesn't become fun anymore. And that's another thing I would stress. Learn how to take breaks. Learn how to breathe.
Enjoy.
That's going to be my closing point. Was literally
learn how to enjoy it.
Yeah, work your ass off and everything, but you still want to take at least a day out of the week to do something you want to do. Whether for us, like I know we like to go hiking or go to the beach.
You need to get away from it sometimes.
Exactly.
Actually,
like you can't always just strictly work. Like yeah, it's a cool mentality in theory. Like work until
until I drop.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people like to force that mentality, but no, that's not healthy. Like especially if you're really young.
Yeah.
Like you still got to experience. Like you and I both said, like we really didn't have much of a high school.
Yeah.
Thing after our junior year, or like start of our junior year, the high school experience, like the normal high school experience, wasn't for us.
No.
Because we were working so much. Like.
Yeah.
All the way up until like just recently, like thankfully, as bad as it sounds, thankful for Corona, to where we could actually just breathe.
Yeah.
Like just step back from life and reflect, because you always need to have like a period where you can reflect and just kind of see like, oh shit, that was actually kind of cool what we did. Like that was a big thing that we did.
It's really hard. It is hard to enjoy what you're doing if you don't like look at it.
Exactly. It's
like if you don't take a step back
and just cool.
I mean,
like, that was awesome.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah. And I think that's again, if I was talking to younger me, I wish I wish someone who, because again, so many people told me, like so many people were like, hey, maybe you should like, take a break. I got a lot of people telling me that, and I was like, nah, I'm fine. And after ridiculous amount of sleep deprivation and just like pushing myself to the limit, I had to learn the hard way that it doesn't work. And I've definitely had to take a different shift at the way I do this. And I guess I would just encourage everyone to consider your own health, whether it be mental, physical, anything, before your work and before your whatever creative thing you want to do, because like there is a way to ruin this for yourself. Like there totally is. And again, if you want to do it, you need to be willing to do it long term. Like nobody in the top of their game did this for 2 years and made it. Like small example, like Roger Deakins won best cinematography for Blade Runner, and then he talked in the interview about the fact that he's like, I still have no idea what I'm doing. He's like 50 something, right? Like he's been doing this stuff like 30, 40 years or whatever the number may be. And he's still like, I have so much to learn. When you realize that this is a very long game and the people at the top of their game are old, it's not because maybe it is because of this. It might be some old elitist stuff within the industry, but I think it's more so because it just takes an extreme amount of time and experience to get to that level.
Yeah. And that's way. Like a lot of this seems very gloomy. Like we are very gloomy on this. I apologize for that.
It does sound gloomy, but it is what it is.
But the biggest lesson that kind of ties it all together and makes it worth it is just looking back and being proud of what you do. Being like, that's the thing, is like there's a difference between being cocky about what you do and just looking back and going, I made that. Yeah. And looking at the small bits. Like we were excited yesterday because we had somebody pulling focus for us, and we're like, that was amazing.
Yeah,
that was great.
We've like literally done that one other time.
Like you just gotta look at the little things and take joy from it. And if you like as much as like if you're not willing, as much as we want to talk about the sacrifices, if you're not willing to enjoy the results of those sacrifices, it's pointless. Or at least even laugh at yourself, be like, what are we doing? And having a good time, then there's no point in doing this.
Yeah.
There's no point in doing anything if you are not having a good time with it. And as gloomy as we sound, I think all of us love what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think video is a great thing to get into because there's just so many hats to wear. There's so many places you could fill in.
Yeah.
Even if you don't own a camera, you don't do this or that. I mean, for instance, like if there was somebody, like if Caleb wasn't a director, there's still grip people that specialize in turning on a light. It's crazy.
There are so many departments in this world, and obviously when you're on like the tiny budgets and stuff, sometimes there's not a big separation between that. But go on, if you ever have the chance to go on like a bigger film set, which I've had the opportunity to do a couple times,
just as a PA,
just as a fly on the wall. If you ever get that experience to see how it all works, you'll realize the amount of film stuff, like film jobs involved in making a film, like in making a music video commercial. There are so many people. But I mean, to like, again, like you said, like I think a lot of this sounds like gloomy or maybe negative, but I think that the moral of the story here is that this stuff is not easy. Like it's not at all simple, but at the same time, we're not trying to deter anyone from getting into this because it's like, there's no reason why we're still doing it. If I didn't want to do this stuff, I wouldn't still be doing this. It's not worth the money. It's not worth the stress. None of it's worth any of that. It's only because I enjoy what I'm doing enough to keep myself in it. Mm-hmm. Because like, again, I know people have way worse jobs than me. I know so many people have way worse lives than me and I'm very fortunate to be able to do what I do for a living. But on the other note, it's like, this is a very, very stressful line of work, and you got to be ready to roll the punches if you're going to do it. So, I mean, chase your dreams, do what you want to do, and don't listen to anyone telling you not to do something unless they're being logical. But a lot of times, just because other people haven't done it themselves, they will tell you can't do it, and it's kind of a joke because there's a lot of people who have done it, and even if there hasn't,
get out there, make what you want to make. Be happy and know that's going to take sacrifices, but just have a good time.
Yeah. So
have fun. I mean, I think that's it. I don't know. We're probably like 2 hours.
Yeah. This is probably extremely
apologies long. And shout out to anybody who watched this thing all the way through. You are the real ones, and I'll give you love and kisses.
Yeah. I mean, this went from like fully like daytime outside to nighttime. So
So sorry about the lighting.
This is long, but I mean, this is like our intro to this. Something, I guess, to talk a little bit about this. If for some reason you're still watching this, what we want to do with this is get some of these artists, get some of the artists that we work with on here, talk about our work experiences, get a little more in depth.
There's a lot to come.
And I think what we kind of want to do is show the behind the scenes and unmask a lot of the. If you've ever heard the analogy that Hollywood is like a cardboard sign, it's like a mirage. You look past it and it's just a fucking like, it's not real.
Yeah.
It's kind of true. So I got it.
No, I'm just kidding.
So we just want to, I guess, show some actual like real life stuff behind this and take away some of the mirage of that. Yep. So anyway, stay tuned.
That's the podcast.
Yep. Thank you guys for watching. Everybody out.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace, love.